A lot of us were disappointed when Blue Protocol was announced to be shutting down. A lot of us were eagerly anticipating it releasing. Thank you so much, Bandai Namco, for messing up the opportunity for a great MMO, and Amazon as well. Players around the world were livid. And for the most part, we thought that that was it for the game. There was going to be no future for it. We weren't going to really get any anime MMOs. The genre was going to continue its decline into stagnation. But thankfully, Tencent heard our cries. They heard our pleas, and they announced that they were acquiring the intellectual property from Bandai Namco and that they were creating their version of Blue Protocol. They were going to attempt to save it. A lot of us had certain misgivings about this. We were a little bit on the fence, and that was admittedly very warranted. This is a Chinese company developing a Japanese anime MMO. Chinese companies are great at doing gacha games, but MMOs are very grindy, very much so Chinese MMOs. We all know what those are like. But MRSSSTIX and I, we got into the beta test. We've been playing it a lot over the last 3-4 days, 6-8 hours a day, and we have completed so much of it. More than I think we did of the original Blue Protocol that released in Japan that we attained access to. Today, we're gonna go over what our thoughts were, and I will preface this by stating that this was a Chinese beta test, so the entire thing was in Chinese. There was no English text whatsoever. This means that we might have some of the information wrong, some of the information might have been mistranslated, and this is also a beta test. So every single bit of it is subject to change between now and release. Let's go ahead here and start this off with the story, because the story in OG Blue Protocol was horseshit. Genuinely, it was. I think MRSSSTIX and I played it for like we played it for like 30 hours before we were banned in Japan, and there was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of story only.
It really wasn't too detailed. Like, it didn't start getting interesting until nearly all those hours had gone by.
And then here we are in the Chinese Blue Protocol with Star Resonance, which we're just gonna refer to this as. We're gonna call Blue Protocol OG and this Star Resonance. So in Star Resonance, the story right from the get-go, you are just moving at Mach speed. You're progressing through the story. It's all dark, it's all messed up. There are a ton of different characters, lots of flair, lots of personality, lots of stuff going on. It's beautifully animated, and it was such a contrasting experience to the original. Then we have the graphics. Some people that were watching stream were saying, this looks like a cheap mobile game. It really doesn't. The character models are very similar in terms of aesthetic to the original. The world itself, holy crap. Like, we got to the later level areas we're exploring. We probably weren't supposed to be there at that point, given the monsters were like level 40 something. We're level 21 or 22.
You just take me to all the best places where I could die.
Best date spots. And the multi-level terrain, all the jumping that we had to do, all the gliding we had to do, all the micromanagement of our abilities, and the constant dodging of enemy attacks that were just throwing fireballs and rocks and lightning bolts and daggers and shit at us at every side. Like, the world is absolutely stunning, and it is so diverse comparatively to OG. I think, like, in the entirety of the 30 or so hours we spent playing it, you had like forest grass area, and they were working on like a desert area way down the line. And then in like the first, I don't know, 10 hours of Star Resonance, we're introduced to several different really unique areas. With
even underground areas as well. I don't recall that being an OG Blue Protocol.
Yeah, speaking of, there were a lot of aesthetic changes made to this, like in terms of the world. A lot of areas were changed drastically. It still like retains the familiarity of Blue Protocol, but at the same time, it improves on it so drastically. And yeah, there are like caves. There were
jumping puzzles of a type to just get to teleport unlocks, which is the bane of my existence.
And then there's a lot of stuff to actually do out in the world too there, because in OG there were like little field bosses that you required, like several people to combat because they were too powerful. Those are still present here. Those are equally as powerful and equally as different here. But then there are, like, one issue that I know a lot of people had with the world in Blue Protocol was that it was empty, barren, void of content, void of things, purpose. You'd see like a couple little sparklies on the floor.
Yeah, now there's actually life skilling where you can go out into different areas of the world and you need to click like on mushrooms and collect those flowers. You need to mine rocks. So these areas have purpose again. And on top of that, exploring them for treasure chests that give you currency that you can use within the shop to purchase outfits is really nice. So exploring the world is actually valuable if you are an in-game fashionista like myself. On top of that, you are just able to fly now at certain points, mind you, and you can jump up really high on different things. And I do see a skill down the line that I think unlocks at 45. I don't know what this entails because flying isn't quite what you think what it means in general games. Like you can't just like be like, I'm gonna go fly now. No, you need to find wind points to fly up into the air and fly. But there is wall climbing that is coming in level 45. I'm very curious to see what that feels like.
So kind of like Wuthering Waves for those of you that play the game, which I know there aren't. No, in retrospect, no. I know a lot of you actually play Wuthering Waves, even though you're MMO players. But to add on to that, there are numerous methods of world traversal and world interaction in this game. There are certain areas that allow for you to run up walls, unrelated to the wall running ability. There is the ability to fly, glide, rapidly dash through things like aerial blockades. And then you have dodges, you have parries, like perfect dodges and perfect parries and everything. You have teleports. And then you have mounts. And to add on to this, there are mounts that have individual abilities and individual movement speeds. These mounts are upgradable, or these mounts are, repaintable, as in you can change the aesthetic appearance of them. And honestly, that is really cool. It adds additional layers of depth to mounts.
And there's a co-op mount, and I really want it.
There's this really big cooperative 2-seater mech mount, which is awesome. And speaking of 2-player, by the way, you can also hold hands in this game. Although that was a slight point of contention, I think, with MRSSSTIX, because in the original Blue Protocol, you could, when you held hands, you could, or she describes it best.
So when you hold hands in OG Blue Protocol, you could both move simultaneously. You didn't necessarily have one person moving and dragging you along. It was you being able to move, and your characters would look at each other. Like, you could get real close. You would be looking intimately into each other's eyes. Like, it was cute. But the hand holding in this, even though you're still lewdly holding hands, it's just one person dragging the other person along. Like, you can't do anything unless you let go of their hand. Like, you are in a static position, running behind them, getting kidnapped.
So it is a cool feature. It is, but it is...
but it could be cooler.
Yeah, so like for comparison, in OG, you could... There were like very romantic implications to hand-holding. In Star Resonance, the person that initiates the hand-holding is essentially a tsundere, and they drag you around and throw you around. They can essentially, for all intents and purposes, lead you in a horde of monsters, get you killed, drown you, like so many different things.
They can't drown you. There's stupid proofing for cliff. And remember, I tested this out.
There are certain precautions that have been taken.
Because I wanted to drag you into the ocean and kill you, but that didn't work. So,
but they can get you killed. They can definitely get you killed in other ways outside of drowning. So it's still going to be very fun to do to random strangers out in the world.
Just offer them hand holding and then drag them into monsters? You are a horrible person.
Thankfully, you can disengage if you know how to. Whether it's in time or not is another question altogether. Speaking of the world, though, the world itself, as I noted, has a lot of different levels, but more than that, there are so many more areas. Not just that, but there are also so many more monster types, gear types, classes, abilities, everything was taken from OG and then just amplified significantly. In terms of classes, there are a few of the OG classes still implemented, but then they took out some of the later added ones and then replaced them with newer ones. Like we have like an electric katana type character or class, and that's the one I went. It's a ton of fun to play. Pure action combat, no locking on whatsoever, no tab target combat, pure action. You don't need a target. You can literally do everything at any time. The mage, which I just swapped to at the end of our 3rd or 4th stream, that does utilize a kind of, it has a reticle, but at the same time it locks onto certain targets for abilities, so it's not as actiony, I think, as the melee classes were. I don't know if the healer, the support that MRSSSTIX was playing, required targets or not for her abilities.
Some of the ones I could use without having targets. But speaking of mage, just really quick, if I recall in OG Blue Protocol, you were able to swap between ice magic and fire magic, or you had options to, because I remember there being like a giant firebomb that came down from the sky. In the mage that you are now, it seems only ice.
No, you also have water.
Okay, you have water and ice.
Yeah, and I don't have the full lower level of the skills unlocked either, so.
Yeah, because unfortunately, I remember in OG Blue Protocol, it was really cool seeing this giant, like, meteor come.
But at the same time, the mage in OG sucked. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
I played it, and essentially what you were required to do was you had like a resource bar, and you had to just left click, shooting little, you know, auto attack things at targets to build up your resource or replenish your mana or something. And then you could use like 3 abilities, and then you spend the next 10 seconds just auto attacking with left click. It was obnoxiously bad.
That does sound obnoxiously bad, yes.
In this, there's like no MP. Which means the only thing you have to worry about are the cooldowns of your abilities. So you set up like 5 abilities with your 2 imagined abilities. You have a total of like 7 abilities, and you just cycle through them. There's no resource necessary, and it makes it so much more fun because you're constantly engaged. And I mean, there's essentially no downtime for either of the classes that I played. I don't know if she ever had downtime.
Well, healer, if we're gonna be honest here, I didn't really enjoy the healing class. Because I play healer in a lot of games. I play in WoW, doing the Disc Priest, which is a lot of management of DPS and healing. I play White Mage in Final Fantasy XIV, and that's just, I mean, that is healing, but it also comes with a lot of damage dealing. I felt like in this particular game, I am just pure healer. I have 1 basic attack, 1 little root attack, and then another like pew pew attack. But it really doesn't do that much damage. And so my healing, while that is really great, I have 1 skill where I just stand in place and I have my arms raised above my head. I'm just healing everyone. I don't lock on to anyone and heal anyone. I also just press a button and it auto puts a regen on everyone. I can hit another button, it puts a shield on everyone. It's kind of boring healing if I'm honest here. And if I also think about this, if I'd gone into this game and started off as healer, it would not be doable because it would take me a decade to kill things. So the only thing that made being healer okay at the start of this game was the fact that you were DPS and carrying us for DPS.
So it reminds me of Terra a little bit, where you'd play the healer in Terra and you literally had no ability to damage.
I mean, I played Priest in Terra. I still felt like I did more damage and had more oomph in that game than I have in this game, and I have all of my skills unlocked. I'm just saying. It's a little disappointing as a healer.
So you're a little more reliant on your other teammates or friends, if you have any. I also want to point out though real quick, since we were talking about mounts just a little bit ago, they removed the stamina for the mounts in this game, so you don't have any. Back in OG, at least, you know, like a launcher in the betas, you had a very limited amount of resource, and once that was consumed, you couldn't mount anymore. Fuck, I hated that. So I'm glad that that's no longer a thing. And there are a lot of different mounts in this. It's not just like a wolf. There are genuinely a lot of different mounts in game now. Now backtracking to classes, and we're a little bit all over the place here. With regards to classes, you can swap, just like in Final Fantasy XIV, just like, I guess, like specializations in World of Warcraft, you can swap classes of this. There are a total of, at present, 7 classes. There might be more when the game officially launches, or if it releases globally. And at present, you start the game off. After level 30, you get an item that allows you to freely change your class. You just have to complete a quest. And then you can purchase class changes, a single time use permanent class unlock. So you'll need to acquire 6 different ones or 5 different ones total. So you have your 6th class, which is your main, and then your 7th, which is the free one you get at the beginning, to unlock all 7 classes that you can swap between at any point in time. You do need to have individual weapons and gear for each one, because I was playing the electric katana guy, and he uses agility gear and a katana. I swapped to mage, and that uses intelligence gear and a stave. So you get given your weapon, a weak level 10 green weapon, but you don't get any additional gear. So I have all dexterity gear, and my damage is shit. So that was fun. But then that means you have to farm gear. And there are numerous ways to farm gear. You can farm gear out in the world. There are the various different boss monsters, which we noted. They have regular drops, just through killing them. Then they have drops you get after unlocking one of the rare loot chests that you get, and you get keys every single day for playing the game. These keys unlock the chests and have much rarer rewards. Then there are dungeons, which allow you to farm gear.
Yeah, there seems to be one particular dungeon, because I don't understand truly the Chinese portion of this, but there seems to be 2 versions of dungeons. One version of dungeoning, you can go in with 1 or 2 people and go through like killing mobs and a boss and acquire gear that way, only twice a day. But if you go above that dungeon entrance, there's even more dungeons above that, I think, that allow you to infinitely run it for various gear. So there is a grind for gear. And it is a random drop for what type of gear that you get. So you can
RNG.
get gear for different classes that don't necessarily match yours, from what I can tell.
Which is both a blessing and a curse, because on the one hand, you're farming for gear, and you're gonna unlock all the classes in the game, which means if you have a decked out like tank or support and you go in there, you can farm gear for your other classes without having to swap to them, because all the gear is RNG. It's completely random. Same with the gear out in the world. We've gotten numerous pieces of gear for several different classes already through multiple different methods thus far.
And then you upgrade your gear by going down to the smith, and that is where you begin to upgrade your gear with materials that you get from going out in the world and doing life skills. So life skills include, I'm not gonna probably name them all, but just kind of off the top of my head, mining, foraging, potion making, cooking. There's also like mining rubies specifically, because mining like rocks and gems are 2 different things. So it's like gem mining and rock mining.
For whatever reason.
I don't really understand.
Let's add additional layers of complexity for no reason.
The life skills, unfortunately, do have a daily limit of how much energy you can expel on that. So I would wisely choose which one you want to, I guess, dive into. Most of these materials will be for sale on the auction house by people that are working on that. I can see people selling those things already.
Like World of Warcraft had that. Professions were very lucrative.
But in terms of the stamina, there's a max of 2,000 stamina to use for life skilling, with 400 life skill points that you get a day at 5 o'clock. There is also fishing that you can do. It is not limited per day. You can just go out and fish for fun. That's a lot of fun, but your pole does break and you do run out of bait.
Yeah, and you have limited bait.
So that's not so fun. Because your weapons, as far as I can tell, and your gear do not have durability. Yeah. It's just that dang fishing pole, just like broken.
Speaking of limitations, once again, since you did mention this briefly, there are limitations imposed on how many dungeons you can run per day. Now, this is definitely a more common thing in MMOs. I know Terra had it. Essentially what it is you can enter a dungeon a certain amount of times per day, and then you're locked from doing it, or locked from receiving rewards after that, and I'm not overly fond of imposing physical limitations on, you know, how many times you can run a dungeon or how much gear you can acquire or how many resources you can acquire in a game, but at the same time, it's not like it's new or exclusive to this game, regardless of how much I like or dislike it.
Yeah, which is very confusing to me, because there's the dungeons right on top of that 2-limit dungeon where you can just go run infinitely. So I don't really understand the difference yet, and I can't quite get the translation to understand either.
One of the issues with using a translator and not fully understanding and grasping the intricacies of the feature due to the lack of understanding of the language in question. Also talking about limitations, at present in the beta, the story is gated, and that was depressing to see. We streamed it day 1 and we hit a gate that required we had to wait 2 more hours. After waiting that 2-hour period, we did more of the story, and then we're required to wait 47 hours.
I don't like that. If that is going to be on launch day for the MMO, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't know if I can stand behind a game that does that.
The one thing, I know a lot of you played Tower of Fantasy. You guys are looking at Blue Protocol because you love anime MMOs. Tower of Fantasy was an anime MMO. There were 2 things that killed Tower of Fantasy before people even got to the predatory monetization or the power creep or the balancing issues. The 2 things were gating progression. All the things you'd find out in the world that had like a 72, 79, 84 hour limitation on when you could open it, or even the story with how you could progress, and 2, the bugs, the hacks, the exploiters, etc., etc. But the time gating killed Tower of Fantasy. So many people quit day 1 because they wanted to burn through 12 hours straight.
Because that's MMOers.
Yeah, when an MMO launches or an expansion launches, when a new WoW expansion drops, when a new Final Fantasy 14 expansion drops, people take the weekend off from work because they want to do 48 hours straight with potty breaks, and maybe they'll order McDonald's.
Which we have done. We have stayed up all night and played, and that's like the best part of MMOs.
Exactly. And Tower of Fantasy, they prohibited you from doing that, and it killed the game. Blue Protocol, at least in the beta test, and I understand why they would impose these limits on a beta, because they don't want people powering through everything too quickly. They want everyone to tackle specific content at a moderate pace that they can track and that they can document. So I understand this makes perfect sense, and I am more than happy to have content gated for the beta, because MRSSSTIX and I are out doing new content as it happens on stream. But because it is gated, everyone else is doing the content with us. So we're fighting new bosses, so are other people. We're out in new areas, so are other people. We're questing, so are other people.
But real quick, the areas are not gated by the time gate. It's only the main story that is time gated. So we can go anywhere in the world that we want, from what I can tell thus far, because I don't want to say like for sure, but I mean, we've gone into areas that are definitely way beyond our level.
Double, triple. But at the same time, outside of exploration, getting treasure chests, unlocking dungeons, teleport points, etc., there's no purpose to them, because there's no story, there are no like real cities, and therefore there are no quests you can take, and there's no purpose to actually be out there. So then you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, so you don't have to do it later, or there's more content to do. That's it. So the game world, while accessible, has no content outside of what is unlocked at points during the story. So the story will take you from area to area, and you'll unlock things in that area. But until you get to that point in the story, there's no purpose to being there. And again, that is entirely gated right now. And I genuinely hope, MRSSSTIX and I probably won't play it long term if that's the case at launch. But we really hope that is that we're just having this implemented specifically for the test phase.
Because in the meantime, right now we're doing side quests, which do not seem to ever run out. Because as soon as we finish one, it feels like another one pops up. So
but that's
we at
also
least have entertainment, but it's just go out and kill like 50 monsters, kill 30 monsters for some of them.
But it's also because we're doing dungeons too, and dungeons give you a whole level up.
Yep.
So because we're doing the side quest and we're doing a dungeon, we're essentially getting level ups every hour. So we're constantly having new stuff pop up, new stuff appear. That way we're never really running out of content to do. And I guess that's supposed to, in theory, hold you over until, you know, the next story mission happens 2 days later.
But I would hope not at launch. I would really hope not.
I also want to quickly touch on the animations, because I think the skill effects for the characters look really good, the classes, but the animations when running look they don't look bad, they just look stupid.
And the flying one looks a little bit stupid,
yeah,
where your legs are like bent up.
Yeah.
That looks a little stupid. The gliding looks pretty cool, because I feel like I'm Iron Man. Because I got my hands out to my sides and I'm just like...
No, yeah, the animations are very cool, but the movement animations need some work, because while running around, you literally lean completely forward like you're doing a Naruto run, but your arms aren't backwards, they're instead just running by your side, and you look stupid. But that was the same thing in OG. Now, one thing that a lot of people have been questioning, well, there are actually two things, I think, two very common questions that I wanted to go over here. One, whether it's going to be free to play. Two, what the gacha is. On the one hand, concerning free to play, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but there's nothing present in game, nor have the devs, because I do have an open line of communication with them, communicated anything to me that would insinuate or allude to any kind of monetization or business model that is not free to play. With this in mind, I am 99% sure that this is going to be completely free to play. It has a battle pass, it has items in the cash shop that you can purchase, outfits, mounts, things that would not necessarily be present in a premium MMO. And because this is cross-platform compatible between PC and mobile, it's very, very unlikely that it would have a purchase price, specifically because it is launching on mobile.
And I know the next question is it pay to win? So far, I do not see anything that would appear pay to win in the battle pass. I looked.
Yep, it's the battle pass, the cash shop. So far, they're very minor items, but mostly cosmetic, but that is, again, subject to change when the game launches. Now, the gacha, from what we have seen, is barely even worth mentioning. So in gacha games, in like Tower Fantasy and Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact and Arknights, Nikke, you roll for characters, gacha for weapons, and in some instances, gacha for outfits. In this game, 99% of it is MMO, 1% of it is gacha. You have a gacha outfit and a gacha mount. So you can open the gacha window and you can roll for those. That's it.
It looks pretty sweet though. It has like purple flames coming from it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the majority of stuff, the majority of mounts, the majority of outfits, almost every single one is obtainable through purchasing, either with the in-game gems you can earn in-game, or via real money. So that's good. That is purely cosmetic, and the same applies to mounts. But there is a gacha with an outfit and a mount that you obtain. So this is going to be for people that want that extra cosmetic option, that want to be able to boast, I spent $500 to get this fucking horse, and then is going to have the rest of the server laugh at them because they're absolute idiots. But
I'm going to be that person that has it.
And I will be the person laughing at you.
But have a purple horse with flames.
But that is the gacha. That is a business model. And honestly, I have had immense amounts of fun, so much more fun than I've had in OG Blue Protocol. And I also appreciate the fact that there are no IP blocks in place, so they're not kicking out foreigners like Japan did. Japan really didn't want Westerners to play their game. China is allowing everyone in, no IP bans, no IP blocks whatsoever. That's great. Everything about this game has been a vast improvement, except for the hand-holding, the stamina, the time-gated story. There are a few issues we do have that definitely need to be fixed, but I have been having a ton of fun. This is something that MRSSTIX and I have yet, I don't think we've experienced in the last few years. A new MMO, not an expansion to a current MMO, but a new MMO that was fun and enjoyable. Because we played Throne and Liberty, we quit in a few hours. MRSSTIX loved Lost Ark, and I did too for the Russian server, where we played, I think, like 100 or more hours while streaming. But other than Lost Ark and like Shadowbringers and Endwalker and Dragonflight and the War Within for a while, there has been not a single MMO that we've enjoyed our time in. Plenty of survival games, plenty of gacha games, but not an MMO until this. So we're very, very excited for and anticipating playing this when it releases, hopefully globally this year, if not the next year. But I would strongly urge you to prepare for this, because I have no doubt they're going to deliver, unless the game is time gated, in which case, fuck it.
I'm out.
Exactly. As I was editing this video, I realized I forgot to mention there is absolutely no autoplay, absolutely no auto combat whatsoever. No auto pathing. Everything is 100% manual. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.